Well, hello. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic time and everything is going your way. But yes, we do find ourselves in this strange realm. Lots going on. Some is real, some is not. And I guess that's what we're here to decide. So let's jump into it.
You've been lied to about human history. Tell me, how could people using horses and wooden carts build massive, flawless stone structures like these? Perfect symmetry, sky-high domes, intricate carvings, and all with hammers and handsaws? That makes zero sense. Look closer. Our timeline doesn't add up. What if the history we're taught was rewritten to hide something? Here's where it gets even crazier. What if the dates on these buildings are wrong? What if that one in 1890 wasn't a one at all? We could be off by 1,000 years. So who actually built them? Ever heard of Tartaria? A vast empire once spanning Europe and Asia, mysteriously erased from textbooks. But you can't erase everything. Old maps still show Tartaria, and their technology was said to rival or surpass ours. Some believe they built the Great Wall of China and the breathtaking architecture we now claim as 19th century. Maybe Tartaria isn't just a myth. Maybe it's the missing civilization that proves our history isn't history at all.
No, it's his story. It's made up. It's a script. Yes, I've definitely looked into Tartaria. If you haven't seen my other channel, Autodidactic, link below. Tons. 5 years, 6 years worth of Tartaria stuff on there. And yeah, the whole date thing, right? That the I's and the J's in front of the dates. We've got so much evidence of this. I've found it everywhere, right? It's in old books, it's on buildings, tombstones is another good one to find them, like literally just everywhere. And it's a question that no one's really been able to answer, right? But clearly they have been messing with time and with our calendars.
Did you know not everyone on Earth is living in 2025? Starting with Thailand, do you know they're in the year 2568? And I'm going to show you a bunch more. But I want you to also know that AI doesn't want you to talk about this, and I'll show you in a minute. But they removed this over and over as I talked about this. Japan, it's 2685. Iran, it's 1404. India, it's 1947. All right, that's the only one that makes sense, right? China is 4723. Ethiopia is 2018. And guys, if I missed any, let me know, like in the comments. I didn't realize this was so common. Saudi Arabia is 1447. Nepal, it's 2082. And North Korea, it's 114 right now. Bangladesh, 1432. And Myanmar, 1386. Again, why would ChatGPT and AI erase this and not want us to talk about this? We should talk about this.
Yes, we should. And it gets worse in parts of Eastern Europe, Russia. It's the year 7000 or past 7000, right? I mean, with our calendar is extremely strange because it doesn't start at year one. It starts in the middle. We have, BC and AD, right? Crazy, and if you add those together, it puts us up closer to, the 4000 sort of time stamp, which a lot of other countries and places are using, but they have definitely manipulated it all, right? The calendars we change from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar, like they literally changed the names. There's a Pope took out a couple of years because he wanted to be in the year 1000, right? All these dumb things, just all just time manipulated. So time, as far as calendars and all this kind of thing, dates, it's all just perception, just like everything else. It's just a spell and it doesn't really exist, right? Does it really matter what numbers we put on, the supposed year or month or day that we're in? And then there's the whole calendar rabbit hole, right? 13 months of 28 days. You've probably been down that rabbit hole. So it's all crazy and all, again, just to keep us confused. So we don't know where we are. We don't know when we are. We don't know what's going on. This is their biggest tool is confusion. Well, maybe fear first and then confusion, right?
What do you really mean about time speeding up?
Well, let me answer in the form of a question. Which lasts longer? A million years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it. In other words, really time is only experienced by the events which occur within it. And I maintain that the early universe had very little going on, and consequently, time moved very, very slowly. The character of time as we approach the present is that there are more and more physical domains and energetic domains in which change can occur. So when I say time is speeding up, what I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. And if you ask the question, well, what would be the ultimate state of connectivity or of happening? It's when all points are connected to all other points. Somehow this concept of connectivity is intimately linked to the concept of complexity. And so really what I'm saying is that the universe is getting its act together. It's connecting the dots. It's bringing everything into co-relationship with everything else. And somehow it does this through the production of consciousness. Consciousness is this integrative function in biology which takes data which may appear profoundly unrelated, and in fact brings it into some kind of a congruent relationship. We say an organism coordinates a point of view. Well, in a way, what's happening over time is that the universe is coordinating a point of view. And as it does this, it becomes somehow more aware, more self-conscious, more being-like and less thing-like. And as I said, this process is not proceeding at a steady pace. It's proceeding faster and faster. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago. So somehow, as we approach the present, we find ourselves in an ever denser realm of activity, interrelationship, connectivity, and the result of this is more of the same, producing a shrinking globe, ever more immersive technologies, dissolution of political, social, gender, and class boundaries of all sorts. So that's what I mean when I say the universe is speeding up.
Terence, one of the great philosophers of the 20th century, RIP. And, he's right. And I've spoken about this before. We've spoken about it on the Tartaria Australia podcast. Go check that out if you haven't already, link below. That this whole time speeding up, the quickening that's happening at the moment is just because there's so much more going on, right? There's so much information being thrown at us, on the screens basically, right? Not actually in the 3D world, but in the 2D world. And that gives us the perception of so much more happening in this same amount of time, if we want to call it that, that it makes it feel like time's going faster, but it's not. There's just more to focus on. And if you want time to slow down, spend more time outside with nature, talking to people, in the 3D world. That is the cure for this. But please let me know your thoughts on time and the quickening and all this kind of stuff. But one thing I do know is time is definitely subjective. It just is, because we all know when something's boring and you have to sit there, time goes really slow. When you're having fun, time goes faster. So time is not a constant, right? It's a perception.
Well, putting Australia first isn't really very controversial, but apparently the government seems to put their friends first or their foreign acquaintances first. And, when the government is making economic decisions or immigration decisions, we would just like to be put first. Australia sells so much of its energy resources. We sell 88% of our coal, 75% of our gas, 100% of our uranium. And it seems like we are prioritising exporting instead of helping Australia grow. So Put Australia First is not just about immigration, it's about affordable energy, and it's also about freedom of speech, which Sky News loves to talk about. We have the under 16 social media ban coming up soon. And we all know here that it has nothing to do with protecting children and everything to do with gathering all of our data. I mean, this is the same government that thinks it's okay for a 12-year-old to take, life-altering medications. But the same government says, oh, no, we care so much about your 12-year-old not getting bullied online, and we care so much that we want everybody else's ID and facial data and things like that. So I think Australians have had enough. Just like Rita said, we've had enough, and the attitude of she'll be right, it's not going to fly for much longer in Australia. And I can't wait to see them try to bring in the under 16 social media ban, for them to try to bring in a mandatory digital ID like they're trying to do in the UK. I think it's going to fail miserably, and the patriotic movement in Australia is growing, and we're here for it. So on Saturday, the 29th of November in Sydney, and on the 30th of November in Melbourne, we want to show the government that we have had enough, and we are going to continue to put Australia first. And if they keep pushing us, we'll just keep standing up.
See you on the 29th and 30th of November.
Yes, well, there you go. Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, Australia, are you going to be there 29th and 30th? So that's like a week or so away, I think, 10 days. Sydney and Melbourne, let me know in the comments. Are you going to be there? And, this whole digital ID, it's that they're trying to implement it all around the realm at the moment in all the Western countries. And, I've been saying that I don't really believe, I don't believe they're going to get it in. I think it's all fear mongering. I don't think they actually have the setup. I think they want to bring it in, but they're not ready. And it's really more about fear and just getting people to sign over rights, quicker, right? And get them ready for this. Every time I say that, so many people come out and say, you're wrong, you're wrong. They're going to bring it in. They're going to suppress us. Life is going to suck. And I say, if you want it, if that's what you believe, you're creating it. You're the manifester. Because this is the thing, is either everything is energy and we are creator beings or not. You can't have it both ways, right? So if you believe that everything's energy and you're a creator being and you're believing all the fear that they're going to bring in all these restrictions and it's going to affect your life adversely, well, you are creating that. You are the one, not them. They just create the headlines. But, these elites, they cannot create. They don't have the creative spark within them. It's us that they use to create the world that they want. So be very careful, right? Stand every day at the doorway to your mind. Don't let this crap in, because you don't want to end up in a world that you don't want, only to find out that you created it by thinking the thoughts that you don't want. It's crazy to me. So you really got to decide what is this place? That's really got to be the first thing. Is this a good place or a bad place? Is the world for you or is it out for you? Are you in the world or are you of the world? Because once you have a foundation of belief, then everything else builds on that. When you don't know what your foundation is, your beliefs are likely to fall over, right? And the whole word believe, live. Right? What you believe is what you will live. You will be that and live it. Believe. Just a thought. And if you've made it through this far, guys, please do give me a like. Let's get 1,000 likes on this video. Share it round. And of course, if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button and the bell and all that other good stuff. And leave me comments. Let me know your thoughts on all these videos and your thoughts about my little rants in between.
There is a massive Gen Z uprising and protest all across Mexico against super corrupt leader Claudia Sheinbaum. Sheinbaum doesn't even have a drop of Mexican DNA in her. She's full-blooded Ashkenazi J. Look, she's even doing the Anna Kasparian, and that's super Ashkenazi. And the crazy thing is, most Mexicans did not even know that she was an Ashkenazi J until after she was elected. Now, how did that happen? The supervillain George bought up many of their radio stations, and those that control the media control the democracy. Also, Zio supervillain Larry Fink of BlackRock also greatly helped Scheinbaum too. So now, after only being in office a month and a half since October 1st, she ran the country into the ground and is now causing a Gen Z uprising. And Gen Z is very anti-Zaya. They're calling her Puta Judea. Now, I don't speak Mexicanese, but I have a feeling that title's not a good one for Claudia. So it looks like Mexico might be the first in the race to make it go from 109 to 110, kicking them out. So unity for victory, free Mexico, and the Zog Zayo Empire is falling around the world.
I agree. It is falling. It is being exposed everywhere. We're in the great unveiling, right? The apocalypse. It's all it means to be unveiled. And we are now seeing not through the veil, we're seeing behind the veil, right? Just like the Wizard of Oz, right? The wizard behind the veil, this big, scary, all-powerful force that is really just a scared little man. This is what's happening now. And again, it's our beliefs, the majority belief that is going to create this. So if you buy into the fear, which is so prevalent on social media today, all the crap, it's all across the news, obviously, but who here watches the news anymore? And they know that, so they're now on social media and all the bots and all the AI. And I've been over this time and time and time again. Um, it's creating a false world, a world of fear, a world where if we believe it, we're more controllable. We're giving away our power. So be very careful of what you believe. And I always say, don't believe anything. Do not judge anything as right or wrong, right? The first time that you come across it, because you do not know. You just don't know. And if you do, you're being told something. You're being led by the nose down a street, right? By someone who is leading you somewhere you don't want to be, right? Things are just interesting to me until I get more information and more information. And then I have more points that I can refer to come up with my own perspective. And as you get more information, things will become more correct or more false in your mind. But even then, when you get to your conclusion, it doesn't mean you get to push it on anyone else. That's your conclusion, and everyone else has their conclusion, right? And it would be an extremely boring world if we all came to the same conclusion about everything. What would we talk about? It would be insanely boring, right? But what was I talking about? Yeah, all this stuff. People saying, "Oh, it's just the media. Oh, he's a shill. He's a shill. She's a shill. That's a man dressed as a woman. They're this. They're that." Look, it doesn't matter. I would say don't shoot the messenger. In everything, there is at least 80% truth, and the 20% lies, or 80% lies and 20% truth. So there is something to learn in all information. And as soon as you start shooting messengers, you've stopped your learning process, right? If someone's a shill and they're fake, you can't learn anything from what they say because you would dismiss it all, the good stuff and the true stuff included. So be autodidactic, my friends. Right? Be self-educated. Get as many points of view as you can on a topic before you make your decision. And I know it's been a long rant, but I also just want to mention the Gen Zs. They've been getting bad rap. I see it all the time, right? All these people, oh, it's Gen Z's fault, Gen Z, Gen Z, and it's not. I have two Gen Zs. Well, are they both Gen Zs? At least one's a Gen Z. Well, I've got two sons in their 20s, younger generation, and they're amazing, right? They're very awake, they're very smart, and there's so many of them out there, but so many people love to focus on the minority, right? With the pink hair and the nose ring and say, oh my God, all Gen Zs suck. It's all their fault. Well, I would say that's just an excuse for not looking in the mirror, right? But there we go. Rant over.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, we live in a fake world full of fake people who work fake jobs to make made up fake money with fake school systems, fake political parties that are led by fake leaders with fake entertainment and fake media, all to keep us distracted from the fact that everything's fake.
Pretty much, yes. That's the deal. So don't fall for it. And, that looked like a Gen Z, right? Just to prove my point. They're just people, and there are a lot of very intelligent, very, aware Gen Zs, and we need them on our side. They are the next generation.
They've tricked our entire generation to work jobs that we hate. And what do we get in exchange for working these terrible jobs? We get money. money that can't buy back the time that the job took from us. All for what? Just so we're not perceived as a bum by the rest of society, just so we can impress our fathers. And then they trick us on television and social media to believe that we have to be consumers to be fulfilled. And every single time we're left empty. We're just byproducts of a lifestyle obsession. We have no actual purpose. We go into debt to buy a car so that we can commute to work, only to then pay off the car that we just went in debt to go to work. We buy houses to leave vacant all day to go to work, just to pay off the house that we're leaving vacant because we're at work all day. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's completely and totally correct. I'm not sure if that was the same guy in both videos, but definitely both Gen Zers, right? And it's true. And they see it. And I was exactly the same. I did not want to go for, I was a very bad employee, right? Because I do not like being told what to do. I do not like wasting my time doing stupid, ridiculous things, especially when I've got a lot to do. Because I'm the kind of person that, well, I don't have a job now, right? Like I work for myself, and I'm the kind of person that I've always got a lot going on. I've always got a lot that I want to do. So having a job literally was getting in the way of my life. And I kind of feel sad for people that don't have a lot to do and so that they marry their life, but it's also programming. But he's so true. It's all fake. It's all a scam. They get us to buy a car and then we need a job to pay for the car. So then we need to get a house close enough to our job so that we can go to our job and pay for the car and pay for the house, right? And then get a mortgage, right? A death grip. And then we're really sort of stuck, right? And 40 years later, you wake up one day and you realize it's all for nothing. You're actually in no better, position financially than you were when you started. All you are is older and more tired. It is a complete scam. So that dude was on the money for sure, in my opinion. But please let me know what you think down in the comments.
This is exactly why I don't watch sports. There's a reason why the Romans used to say that if you want to keep people distracted, you simply give them bread and circuses. And it is because they knew that if people were fed and entertained, then they wouldn't question anything and they wouldn't think for themselves. And you see, modern day sports is the exact same thing. People yell at TVs, they memorize stats, they argue over other players, and they even wear another man's last name on their back to vicariously live through them. And you see all of these things happen because they want to keep us distracted and weak. Because when you have something great going on in your life, you simply do not have time to partake in bread and circuses. So you can either be your own biggest cheerleader and create something worth building, or you can live through other people and be a cheerleader on the sideline for them.
Well, Gen Z are on the money today, and hello to all the Gen Zers and parents and grandparents of Gen Zers, or the younger generations. I mean, there's so many bloody generations these days, right? They used to last for a couple of decades. Now they seem to change it every year. So I don't know. But to all the young people out there, I appreciate you. I think you're awesome. But it's so true, right? Bread and circuses. All right, sit on your couch eating Cheetos, yelling at the TV. Right? And we've all seen this, like fat dudes sitting down yelling at some top athlete because he missed a basket or a goal or a play or whatever it might be. Like, I mean, oh my God. But what really got me from that clip is when he said, men wear other men's name on their back. I mean, just think about that. That is that is profound because that is literally people saying that the identity and this is people that they've never met. They just see them on the 2D world right on the screen. But they literally walk around saying this person's better than me. I worship this person, right? They're amazing. And they put all their energy into that instead of their own lives, right? Instead of fathers becoming the heroes for their sons and daughters, they are sitting down on the couch with their sons and daughters, eating Cheetos and telling them how good some other dude on the screen that they have never met, they don't know the morals of, I don't really know what they're like, but they're saying that they're amazing. Basically, they're better than me. Worship them. It's very, very sad, in my opinion.
So now that Italy is investigating the alleged hunting safaris, human hunting safaris in Bosnia, I think it's time we revisit Nicole Kidman's father, Anthony Kidman, who suspiciously died in Singapore as he was facing allegations of child abuse. Anthony Kidman dies amidst child abuse allegations. Now we have Fiona Barnett, who has her own documentary on YouTube, Candy Girl, and says that Nicole Kidman was present for said ritualistic abuse. Then we have these allegations not only against child abuse, ritualistic child abuse, but also hunting. And now how many SRA survivors have come forward saying that they would hunt children for fun? And people think you're crazy, a conspiracy theorist, if you talk about this. But really, maybe it's just coming to light now. But there have been a lot of people who have said this before. So maybe we should start listening to these survivors and believing them. Okay, thank you.
It's the apocalypse. The veil is lifting. What do you think about this? They've showed us this, right? Hunger Games and so many other movies, right? Running Man was another one. I mean, there's lots of them where basically people are hunted, and it's all come out, right? The veil is lifted on all the trafficking and all that kind of stuff, right? That's going on. So, what do you think's happening here? And Bosnia, I was in Bosnia, 2023. Amazing country, amazing people, but that whole region, the former Yugoslavia, the Balkans, that they've been attacked for like 100 years. Like there's been constant wars on. As you're driving around Bosnia, there's still everywhere like half blown up houses in Sarajevo, the main city. There's bullet holes still in the walls of buildings and things. It's crazy, you know. And the war was 30 years ago now, and they're saying that Italy is now looking into this. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is real? Do you think this kind of stuff was going on, is going on? Let me know. And I know a lot of people who see this will be like, oh my God, it's just crap. It's all crap. Well, I would say, again, don't judge things. Instead, do a bit of research and let's see what is actually going on out there. Because we're going through a good change. We're going into the positive charge. But all the fear that all 100% comes from the elites, right, and the control system is telling us we're going somewhere bad and it's the apocalypse and the end of the world. But guys, that's in the 2D world. That is the program. So I thought we'd just have a quick look. Italy, human hunting. News, Italy probes Sarajevo sniper safaris. What were they? Who was involved? Italy probe claims that tourists paid to go to Bosnia to blah, blah, blah. Italy probe, human hunting tourism, 1990, Sarajevo, Italy. Like, this is real. This is real, guys. All right? And so this, again, I've said it a billion times. I'm going to say it again. Like, don't fall for the crap. Don't believe the hype. Everything that comes from the system is designed to make you weaker and more controllable. And that's it. And so don't see everything that is good. And I'm just seeing a lot of this. So I'm ranting a bit today, aren't I? But you know, I see all this good stuff, and you show it to people, and they're like, "Oh, that person's a shill. Oh, they're clearly paid. This." You know, they give you every reason they can why it can't be true. You know, they have a problem for every solution. But the truth is, there's a lot of good stuff coming on, right? Happening right now. The veil is being lifted, as I've said. And if you're going to focus on what the media tells you and that everything is bad, because that is the script of the media, everything's bad, it's falling apart, the world's ending. If you want to believe that, you are just helping them create it. All right? Look for the good. Believe in the good. Clearly, this world is not filled with 100% bad people. And when I first started studying, you know, online about all this, this was back in the 90s, right? The late 90s. You know, one of the first things that I learned was that the elites, the controllers, those who wish to control us, They're 1% of 1%. And now everyone who thinks they're a truther and they're so awake, um, that they want to tell you that everyone is in on it. Everyone's a shill. Everyone's a tranny. Everyone's a this and a that, right? Without any proof at all. Just because they've watched a couple of videos, right? And actually not looked into it. But basically they're being tricked into a negative mindset and into creating something that they actually don't want. So be very careful, my friends. Like I said before, stand guard every day at the door of your mind because you do not want to just let anything in there.
Where is humanity ultimately being taken? Well, it's becoming clearer and clearer what the answer to that question is, simply by the unfolding of human society events and happenings. And of course, what has become the dominating force in human society in recent years? So fast. Technology. So what is the end game? It is to connect the human mind brain to artificial intelligence, AI, so AI becomes the human mind. Up to this point, human perception has been manipulated by control of information. This endgame is to go to the next stage beyond that and ensure that human perception doesn't need manipulating anymore because it's coming direct. And what I call the totalitarian tiptoe towards that is so blatant all around us today, and it's called the smart grid. Is there anything new that happens now, that is created now, that is introduced now? It seems not. That doesn't have the word smart in front of it. Smart meters, smart cars, smart phones, smart televisions, smart everything. Well, the pennies start to drop and the dots start to connect when we realize that if it's got smart in front of it, it's connected to an agenda in which all the smart objects, smart techniques, smart everything are interconnected to form what is planned to be, what is unfolding all the time, a phenomenal human grid of control. The smart grid is designed through AI to control everything, control every aspect of human life. Just look today at how much more each day artificial intelligence is dictating events, making decisions. More and more they're introducing weaponry and military technology that's controlled not by humans making decisions, but by AI making decisions. Increasingly moving towards the point where AI is deciding who lives and who dies. This is no accident. This is the totalitarian tiptoe.
Yes, and yes, that was David Icke. Did I trigger you? He's another one that just people just get triggered. Oh my God, he's such a shill, he's such a shill. Well, he wasn't a shill back in the 90s, was he? When he was the only one speaking out about this kind of stuff, right? Um, it's, this whole concept of everyone's working for the bad guys it just makes me laugh. It's shallow thinking. It's thinking with none of your own thought. It's just taking other people's opinions and making them yours because how could we possibly know if he was the shill or not? It's an edge. We cannot prove it one way or the other. But what we can prove is that believing everything is bad and against you and everyone's a shill makes your life worse. It's that simple. But Dave. So I like Dave. I've interviewed Dave. I think he's great. He's got some great ideas. I don't believe everything he says, but I don't believe everything anyone says. There's no one that any of us agree 100% with. And again, we don't want to because that would be a very boring world. But smart, he ain't wrong, right? The smart grid, the AI, they started off with computers, and then we've all got the phone, right? One's sitting there. These black scrying screens, right? Scrying mirrors. And then we saw earlier, or no, sorry, it was yesterday, people scanning their hands with chips in them. All right. We know about VR, and now they're doing the whole, they're trying, right, at least to introduce the concept of an internet ID. It's the encroachment of the AI, right? So I don't think AI is our friend. I don't know though, right? It can be useful, but it's an algorithm. So I think it depends who's programming it. Um, but let me know, what are your thoughts about AI and technology? What are your thoughts about what he said? But I do want to say that the smart TV, when I was growing up, it was called the idiot box, right? Don't sit too close to the idiot box. It'll make you stupid. Don't watch the idiot box too long. It'll make your eyes go square. And now, those same people, my parents included, and most of the older generation, and obviously all the other generations, call it the smart TV, right? Just in the way that that is perceived in our subconscious mind is a problem, right? Because we literally are programming ourselves, if we keep calling these things smart, we're programming ourselves subconsciously to believe that they're of benefit of some kind, when clearly they're not. They're the control system. Are so smart, right? As you can see here, they want us to believe that it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Oh, it all sounds so nice. So like we're moving into the future and it actually has anything to do with us, doesn't it? That's smart. But smart is an acronym, right? Here's another one. Surveillance, marketed as revolutionary technology. And there is another one. I can't remember it all, but it's basically surveillance, monitoring, and I can't remember the last three. Let me know if you know that acronym. Leave it in the comments below. But this is the thing, right? And we can see it right there. Smart. They're trying to tell us it means one thing, and it probably does for them, right? For their agenda. But for us, it means something completely different, right? Surveillance marketed as revolution technology. I think that's supposed to be revolutionary. Revolution doesn't make that much sense, but you know what I mean. And this is it. This is the spell casting and the wordplay. So again, don't believe me. Don't believe anything I say. Don't believe anything in these videos. Just take it all as interesting and make up your own mind. If you need more information, get it. If you only have one perspective or two perspectives, get more, right? Because if you've only got one perspective or two perspectives, you're being told something. One, obviously, you can't make a decision. Two perspectives, that's just the polar opposites of each other. That's left and right ring in politics, right? There's no decision to be made there. You need at least three, but obviously, the more perspectives you can get, the better choices you'll make, the better decisions you'll make, and the more your conclusions will actually be your own.
I noticed something when I saw this. This is at the Paris Louvre, and I was very, very interested in this piece right here, only because why would a bone-like structure or anything of this magnitude be on something that should be inorganic? Now, right here, you got the Venus de Milo. All right. And this is old. Like, this goes all the way back to, like, I don't know, 125 BC or something when they found this. They say they found it off the coast of Greece. And when they did find it off the coast of Greece, supposedly the arms were already missing. Another thing which we ignore, and I don't quite understand, because if you can look, that arm is cleanly severed off. It didn't erode off. And it's made out of Peruvian marble, as you can see here. Marble. And you need a diamond tip saw to even cut marble. So how did you even cut that? And I don't like how they pulled up that guy chiseling with a stone as if somebody chiseled this huge statue. This right here, it's 6 feet 8 inches tall. 6 feet 8 inches tall. So you'd need a 7.5 foot, 8 foot block of marble to start with, and you can't make any mistakes. Clean cut arm, which they try and explain off like, oh yeah, the arms were just missing. The arms weren't missing. They cut these arms off these statues for a reason. This statue included. Then I came across this guy's work by the name of Signor Sagato. And let's just read this here, right? At the time acquired, the means of petrifying animals so perfectly as at present, and petrify and petrification, he warns that he uses them in a new literary sense in duration resembling and approaching that of stone, not a petrification in the scientific sense. As you read here, this guy had a petrification process where, look, even the spots upon the skin remain the same, they remain natural, not one drop, where they continued fixed as freshly and lively. Birds do not lose a feather, reptiles don't lose a scale, both preserve their hue. Animals, even the eye still glistens. So this guy figured out a way to petrify things. Look, a female bosom, white, the natural appearance, even to the fine down of the skin, the roundness of the breasts. This guy here had a method he used to petrify things. As you can see here, Sagato's discoveries, his countrymen, he had already acquired some celebrity in Europe from his admirable maps of America. So this guy was pretty famous for what he did. As you can see here, he basically was a very, very well-known individual. Right here, look, Signor Sagato as well, analogy, insects, all I'm prepared for natural history is unable to answer besides the high degree of anatomical knowledge, great skill and preparation, right? Which bodies and parts of animals are preserved, maintaining their natural color and exhibiting peculiar appearances incident to certain pathological conditions. Look, besides, they acquire a hardness which may be called stony. Look, and they resist corrosion of the air, of humidity, and of worms, right? This guy was petrifying cadavers or bodies, and once he petrified them, they remained that way. They didn't decay any further, air didn't affect them, and water didn't affect them. He was petrifying them. These are the breasts. Look at that. Resulted in petrification. Somehow he successfully replaced the organic tissue with mineral while preserving the original color, shape, texture, even the cellular structure of the original material. Look at those titties. You wouldn't think that was a petrified cadaver. You would think that was stone, marble, wouldn't you? Exactly. Let's keep cooking. He also petrified a kidney. This is a petrified dead person. Look at the eye. Look at everything on there, right? This is the condition he got out of a dead person that petrified and just stayed like this forever. And that got me thinking. If he could petrify this dead individual and have them like that forever, then couldn't you just do it to a live person and animate them in that fashion? Petrification, the process by which organic matter exposed to minerals over a long period is turned into a stony substance. He didn't need a long period. He was doing this instantly. And that brings me to these statues. Let's just take a look here. You got 1504. You got 1624. You got 1753. You got 1850. All right, let me tell you what you don't have. You don't have a diamond tip saw. To cut marble, you need a wet saw with a diamond tip blade for straight cuts or an angle grinder for curves or smaller cuts. Ensure always keep the blade wet to reduce dust and heat. Prepare the marble by measuring, marking, securely clamping it before all of these things, right? This equipment you do not have. So you have to ask yourself, without that equipment, how are you making these out of marble? You're looking at marble here. This isn't plaster. This is marble. Marble. And I don't care if you got the best diamond tip tool of all. This is just out of this world. How are you getting this done here? The only way this could possibly work is if these are actual people that are really petrified. Look, if not marvelous as it may seem, he had discovered a chemical process by which he could actually petrify in a very short time. Every animal cell is preserved permanently and with minute accuracy, its form and internal texture, and in a state of such stony hardness that it could be sawed into slabs and elegantly polished. He had, in his way, formed a museum of various animals, frogs, fish, toads, snakes, a great variety of parts of the human body in a natural and diseased state. In my presence, he threw the human liver, lungs, heart, and other parts thus petrified about the floor with perfect impunity and without the least injury being done to them. They were completely petrified. This extraordinary man must have inherited the magic shield of Perseus, that which the snaky tresses of the Gorgon Medusa's head enabled her to convert everything to stone. Now, check this story out. This I found odd. Look, Segator, he went to the United States to demonstrate his work among the surgeons and the people in the country. Segator was reluctant. Mott wrote that Segator's demands were too exorbitant to be complied with, right? Dejected, returned to the United States. Look, 3 weeks later, he received a letter informing him that Segator had suffered a sudden and violent inflammation of the lungs and had died shortly after he had left France. Segator had taken to the grave. The secret of his technique, and despite numerous studies and attempts to imitate his methods, remained mysterious. So this man went to the United States, demonstrated to these surgeons his petrification method, and 3 weeks later he mysteriously died from lung inflammation. And we all just know you don't suddenly die from lung or respiratory anything. When you have a lung issue, it's ongoing. It happens, emphysema, lung cancer. It's debilitating. It happens over time. He just suddenly died after he left the United States and showed them this petrification. I'm calling bullshit. I'm seeing missing arms missing off of all these statues, and they're cleanly cut off. 1875, still cut off. Right there, still cut off. With that said, I'm not buying that anybody sculpted these. Look at their facial expressions. I'm under the impression that somebody back then, just like Segato, had a petrification method and they were using it on living human beings. But when the mind's blind, the eyes can't see.
Well, so much to unpack with that, and obviously, I don't have the time to do that. I am starting a new series though on my main channel, Autodidactic, where I'm going to go through all the stuff that we hear about in his story. And statues are definitely up there. They're an anomaly, and we've been asking this question, ever since I've been researching Tartaria. The statues. How is it even possible? Like you said, you need diamond tip tools, yet they tell us they were doing it with copper, right? Chisels and hammers. And we know one mistake and you got to start again. And the first picture where he showed the bone, pretty interesting. Then there's the statues, with the veiled ladies. There's a famous one called the Fisherman, where he's casting a fishing net. That is, it's literally impossible. And I used to think, were they printed? Because clearly they've not been chiseled by hand. But were they petrified? And is petrified not an interesting word? Petrified, right? Scared, stiff. And as far as the petrification process, they tell us, oh, it takes thousands of years, and Uh, there's a cave, and you can go and check this all out. Do not believe me, guys. Go and get your own information. There's a cave called Mother Shipton's Cave in the UK. People literally hang everything in there off this cave because there's a highly mineralized stream coming over, right? So you hang these things so they get wet by their stream, and they're petrifying teddy bears, right? Teddy bears, fluffy things into stone within 3 to 6 months. They've done bicycles, right? Metal. So petrification can happen quickly, especially if you have the right conditions, right? And I also think about mummification. Is that part of this process? I don't know, but there's so much to unpack there. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think that these were, actually chiseled by the greatest artists that ever lived with copper chisels and wooden hammers? Or do you think there's something else going on? Do you think they could be real people? All right. Like really, it's at this point anything's possible in my mind. And I think if you are after the truth, anything has to be possible because really the one thing that we know that we can prove is that we've been lied to about everything. But there we go, guys. Another one done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do leave me your comments. Let me know what you think on the videos and on my take on things. But whatever you say is not wrong. It's all your perspective, which is good. Much better to have a perspective that someone disagrees with than to have no perspective of your own at all. And yes, please give me a like. Let's get up to 1,000 likes on this video. Let's push it out there, get the information out. Please share it around. And of course, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell, all that good stuff. But most of all, stay awesome, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
When I look into your eyes, I can see your love is strange. But darling, when I hold you, don't you know I feel the same? 'Cause nothing lasts forever, and we both know hearts can change. And it's hard to hold a candle in a cold November rain. I know it's hard to keep an open heart when even friends seem out to harm you. But if you could heal a broken heart, wouldn't time be out to charm you?